Okay, go.
Hello, welcome to our weekly chat at Men Are Human. We are discussing this week male mental health, including suicide, and how that relates to men's spaces being under attack and men's only spaces being under attack. It's been well known for a long time that men commit suicide at a higher rate than women, and men's mental health has been a big issue in the men's rights movement in the last few years. And even feminists have recognized that men's mental health doesn't get a lot of attention, and a lot of men are reluctant to talk about their mental health. That might actually be one of the few times when I would agree with feminists when they talk about toxic masculinity, because that actually is a valid point. A lot of men are, in fact, afraid to talk about their mental health. And curiously enough, that premise was kind of the starting point for the Sopranos TV show, and where Tony Soprano was a mafia boss, and he was seeing a psychiatrist. And Michael Franchese was a former capo in the mafia in New York, and he gave multiple interviews where he was asked honestly, like, what would happen if a mob boss was seeing a psychiatrist? And he said, well, both the mob boss and the psychiatrist would be in the back of a trunk towards the river in a week. And that's obviously an extreme example, but it explored the idea that it's not a masculine thing to seek mental health. And this is something that I think it's not just extreme cases like a mafia boss, but even everyday regular men. There is definitely a sort of stigma against men talking about emotions or men talking about psychiatrists or things such of that nature. And it's no surprise that you see men committing suicide at a higher rates, but not just for that reason. I think there's something to be said about how men commit suicide more because they're put in situations where, example, they are not allowed to see their kids because they had a divorce and they lost custody, or they are homeless and they're hopeless and there's no way out because there's no social safety net for them, there's no services for them, and they don't see a point. I think that young men are getting a constant negative message and a constant hostility from the media and even from school. I saw a very scary comment on Instagram, I forget exactly where, but it was a woman saying, I'm a teacher in Australia. I teach toxic masculinity classes to my high school students, and honestly, I think it should start even younger. That to me is extremely scary, because what kind of negative message are these kids getting? And the last topic of this week, men's spaces being under attack. Is there something to be said about the necessity for men being allowed to gather and speak freely and express themselves freely? And of course, that's kind of what the men's rights movement is, even though, of course, the men's rights movement is not a men's only group. And we have many women who are members of the men's rights movement. But a lot of men's groups and male spaces are being infringed. An example would be the Boy Scouts of America. There was a recent lawsuit to allow girls in the group. And now there was a lawsuit to enforce girl-only troops within the Boy Scouts. And of course, there was no such thing as boys being allowed in the Girl Scouts. Just an example. We've seen fraternities come under attack. We've seen male-only clubs, such as the Brook in New York and White's in London, being under attack. But the same isn't said about female-only spaces. Male-only spaces are often under attack. Female-only spaces are not. I would personally rather have a co-ed space, but if a man wants to have a male-only space, they should have the same right as women to have that. So anyway, that is our topic, or topics for the week. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Blue. And if anyone would like to talk about this and who has personal experience with this, please do go ahead. Remember to keep your mics muted when you're not talking. Thank
GS Man, can you please say what you just said in the chat about the men in India committing suicide? Oh, I see. Okay, so he's having a mic problem. So I'll read what he said if you look at the voice discussion. GS Man just said that every year in India, 85,000 men commit suicide because of false accusations.
If you've got that
Blue, I think I think I'm a bit knowledgeable on this topic as I am from India too. The thing is, the just the laws that are put for the benefit of women are with good intention, but they are often poorly constructed or poorly executed. Uh, but then they say the false accusations are rare, but that's not true. As it just those of rape accusation, there's a countless, like the false dowry accusation, false domestic violence accusation, false misdemeanor accusations, other countless false accusations that women make against men, but those aren't really counted as false accusation in most statistics, and they say the false accusations are rare. Now the problem is these most of these laws are so biased and so poorly constructed that a woman can just go to police station and complain, and the guy would be in the jail. He would be first be tortured. There will be women's organization helping the woman, even if the guy's case seems more credible. The women's organization here would literally do anything to support a woman, no matter how much a bad place the woman is. And
I'm
dowry
not
for
sure I
I
caught
think
most of that because of the background noise on your mic. It sounds like you're sitting on a rusty swing.
I was. I'll just change places.
Hello?
Hello.
Zeta, your mic
So
is giving us a lot of noise. It's alright. If you could,
is it okay now?
I'm
Sounds
not
better
sure.
to
You
me
have
now.
to speak longer. Yeah, it seems alright.
Is okay. The most false accusation against men are because of the dowry law, in which if the husband is demanding dowry from her in-laws or woman's side, the wife's side of family, it's a crime in India. Many still do practice dowry and some not. But the thing is, the woman doesn't need any proof uh, to file the dowry case. If a woman says yes, he has taken dowry, or he's asking dowry from me and torturing me, the husband and his entire family,
Sorry,
even
what?
including old people. If a woman files a dowry case against a man, even if it's a false, his entire family, including his brother-in-law, father-in-law, mother-in-law, even their grandparents would go to jail, including the female members and also the male members.
What? That's absolutely insane.
Yeah,
Yes, and they are,
yep, that's true. It's literally
and
as insane
that,
as it sounds. I've read exactly that, where entire families or the parents have gone to jail over that. Yeah.
and the biggest thing is the woman doesn't face any backlash even if the case was proven false. In most cases, since woman doesn't need any proof,
Let me
she
ask you.
extort.
Let me just ask you really fast.
Yes,
When you said there's no backlash, you mean like legally? Like there's no like she doesn't go to jail, right?
legal. Yes,
What about socially?
yes.
What do like regular people talk about? Like, do they would she get any social
I
backlash?
think
Like,
this. I think the social backlash is the only thing that's preventing many of them to make false accusations.
and do people ever talk about, like, not politicians, but do regular people like friends and neighbors and coworkers? Do they ever talk about how this is a problem and they should change the laws?
No, they don't. But that's because nobody actually cares, because in Indian, especially in most communities, the people marry within their communities. So, the thing is, the everyone knows everyone. If someone is misbehaving or someone is doing anything wrong, the one committing the wrong stuff will face backlash from the entire community, and so there is a huge social group among every classes in India.
Right. Yeah. Makes sense.
Sounds pretty harsh over there. So I'm guessing the suicide rate
And
is
even
pretty. Huh?
the Supreme Court in India has said has approached the government to bring changes in the law because it's almost a legal terrorism, that
What?
Supreme Court's words. And even if the Supreme Court of a country is saying, the Supreme Court of India is actually saying this law should be changed because it's almost legal terrorism at this point, because it's holding up so many cases, and it's very unfair and easily misused. But the government and the women's organization are actually opposing uh, Supreme Court's suggestion to make changes in this law.
Well, that's pretty awful. Why didn't you find out who the people are who are opposing changes and just accuse their families of dowry fraud? That would change their minds pretty quick, I think.
You see it all the time. Feminist groups will suddenly be outraged when something bad happens to women that happens to men all the time. I read an article this morning. Feminists were furious at a man who only got 5 years in prison for murdering his wife. At the same time, those same feminist groups are completely okay with supporting early release or suspended sentences for women who murder their husbands. So the hypocrisy won't make them change their minds, because they already know things are wrong. The people who make these kinds of situations happen and the people who support these kinds of laws, they're not doing so in good faith. So they know they're wrong. They're being intentionally disingenuous and intentionally deceptive. So showing them the hypocrisy or showing them the irony, showing them anything makes no difference. They don't care. That's why they're so dangerous, is because there's no such, you can never convince them. The only way to convince them is with so much public pressure that they're forced to change their tune. But you'll never really change a sociopath's mind.
Well, that's why I think you should make it so that they're the butt of the law. Make it so that they have to reform it, because otherwise they're going to go to jail. Like, it seems like a good opportunity if you can get like female MRAs in India to accuse the people who are actually, supporting this of dowry fraud, like just one of the males in their family, and get that person in such a way that they get that person arrested as well, because that's just an insane law. It's
I mean, it won't work on influential people.
sorry, what?
If it only works, the false accusations will only work mostly on normal people, but it won't work on people in power or people with connections. Because if, example, I have lots of connection, I have lots of money. If someone makes false accusations, I can just pay someone to threaten him or settle the matter, or just completely wipe them out.
Fair point. I mean, it is very corrupt over there, I've heard as well. Yeah. Well, anyway, so I've been looking up stats, and it says that one person kills themselves every 40 seconds, and I find that very interesting that they're not saying men, obviously, but we can actually work out what percentage, how how often that's a man. So like it's something like 70 to 80% of all people who kill themselves are male. So I mean, if with a little bit of math, I think we can work out exactly how often like men kill themselves. So it's probably something like once per minute or something. If we if we just sort of does anyone know how to work that one out?
Can you give me the numbers?
Sorry?
Can you give me the numbers again?
Yeah, it's one person every 40 seconds, and it's something like 70 to 80% of all suicides are men. It depends on the region, though. In some places it's 80%, in some places it's more like 76 or 70.
I think the global average for male suicide is 78%.
It's
So
something like that.
it would be about a minute.
Yeah. So it might be. It's kind of depressing, really. It's I mean, but what can we really do about it? Hang on a second, guys, squeaking up.
Well, I think, and I'm definitely not an expert on this topic, but I do think that at least some, almost certainly some, of male suicides are a result of the kinds of issues MRAs would talk about, such as being alienated from your children, losing your children in the custody battle, such as being chronically unemployed or homeless, or maybe a homeless Vietnam vet who has chronic pain from an injury, who wasn't properly taken care of and isn't able to treat his pain properly, or a man gets divorced and loses his home. But I've met people who this has happened to them. They've been homeless for years on the streets, and they're in chronic pain, or they're addicted to alcohol, or all different kinds of reasons. I definitely think there's a lot of male issue suicides, domestic violence, being trapped and being unable to get out, being unable to see your kids. There was a case, I'm going to try and find it and post it, about a guy that committed suicide over circumcision. I think this was in the UK, actually. He got circumcised, I think around 18 or 20, and then 2 years later, he ended up committing suicide over it, which really kind of I'm going to look that up now, which really kind of goes to show you just how bad circumcision is. People who were born, here we go, I found it. I'm going to post it right now. People who were circumcised at birth, I guess, would never know, but this is someone who did know both sides. And it was so extreme that he killed himself over it. And let's see if that link worked. There you go. Right there.
Yeah, that was an British lad who moved to Canada, and they basically lied to him about the treatments that were available and went straight to circumcision.
That sounds like a pretty typical case. They always try and lie to you. Like I recently came across a piece about how well, basically it was this mother saying that her nurse told her to exercise the foreskin of her son, and she turned around and told them that she wasn't going to masturbate her son, and it's kind of crazy. But what I'm basically saying is that that would have torn the foreskin, and it would have basically either given him physmosis, or he would have had to go back in to have it forcible retraction corrected. And when they do that, they don't like sew up the foreskin, they just rip it off. I mean, this is what they're trying to do, basically. It's either ignorance or it's an intentional attempt to get the woman to have a foreskin after ruining it, and they just say, see, it's dangerous to have these things, you can just rip them off.
It is kind of off topic, but the fact that circumcision still happens every day in the US for absolutely no reason. Even parents who aren't religious, it just happens automatically. People don't even think about it. And the fact that we're not allowed to talk about it I guess isn't totally off topic because the story we just posted, people do kill themselves over it. People do get depressed and angry over it. So, and I wonder, there was an article about the psychological effects of circumcision that lasts throughout life. I wonder if that can contribute to someone being depressed. I wonder if that can contribute to someone committing suicide, which we know that it can. So that happens to that young
Well,
man.
we've had multiple people on here talking about like wanting to kill themselves because of circumcision, or feeling depressed because of it, all that sort of thing. And we've like the original guy who was like had his what's that guy's name? I can't remember his name, but he had forcible gender reassignment after doctors botched his circumcision, and then they started doing really weird things to him and his brother as part of a sort of an attempt, like a social attempt to recondition him as a girl. And apparently the research was lauded a lot, and they just leave out the bit where he committed suicide and where he wanted to be a boy. But yeah,
I think this topic is really getting uncomfortable for me. I think I will just be done with the plan I was talking about before, and I will just leave. What do you say?
apologies. We will move off of suicide because there's a reason we don't usually cover it on this channel. It's because it's a very depressing topic, and all of our issues feed into it anyway. So solving those issues is the main way we can solve the problem. I mean, when you think about it, men's suicide rate shouldn't be any higher than the female suicide rate. So if we can solve all of men's issues, we can drop it down to like about that much.
And what angers me is that every time men's issues are come up, the women always complain it's because of other men. I mean, it's always fills with anger, but because other men aren't saying it's because of other men in the comment section. It's you.
I'm not sure I got most of that, but
Yeah. When you say women always say, I think you mean feminists, right? You're not talking about women in general.
No, just feminist.
all right. Well, yeah. I mean,
I have that. I make that point all the time when feminists say, "Well, how come MRAs are just anti-feminist?" And it's like, look at all of the times when feminist groups against men's rights. And I was just talking earlier about how we were talking about women's sentencing disparities. When feminist groups in the UK, like the Fawcett Society, will actually lobby to have female murderers released early, or they'll fight to have a woman who tried to stab her husband released from prison or not get sentenced at all from prison because, oh, well, she had some kind of emotional distress, which would never be excused the other way around. I guess I can tie that into this topic because men don't get any excuses for their mental health, whereas women get excused for mental health all the time. Women will get out of jail for mental health. I'll post a story of a woman who stabbed her husband with a screwdriver and tried to kill him. And 27 days in jail total. Or the Sally Schelling case, which we've talked about here before, who murdered her husband and then was released early for, quote, mental health. But you would never see a man being violent to his wife or being violent in general and then getting excused because it was mental health. Like, mental health never seems to work for men in court. And I'm not saying that it should. Like, I think it should be considered, but if someone does a violent crime or if someone is dangerous to society, then they have to be detained for the safety of society if it's necessary. But there's a difference in the way that men with mental health are treated in the court system and the way that women with mental health are treated in the court system. A very notable difference in how men and women are both treated in the court system with mental health. And it's misandry.
It's not just the courts, it's the newspapers as well. I mean, I've noticed for a long time that if a woman is in the newspapers for having attacked or killed somebody, they talk about the mental health and how she's a victim of her own mind, and like she didn't know what she was doing. She's had a hard childhood, and she's been like abused, and like she really she's a victim of him. Like he was an emotional abuser and all that sort of stuff. And they'll say all the same things because they've got the women's group, and the women's groups are basically feeding them these lines about him being an emotional abuser and things like that. And then when you go to the men's side, it's, oh, he was just a psychopath. He was just he's just a total crazy. It's like for women the excuse is mental health. For men, the thing that condemns them is mental health. So yeah. I'm not sure why nobody else has noticed this, because it's a very, very strong pattern. If you compare similar articles where a woman does something really heinous and a man does something really heinous, then in the news article about the man, it's a lot more condemnation on him personally, whereas in the article about the woman, they try and blame literally anyone and anything other than the woman herself. It's pretty kooky.
That's a very good point.
What?
Paul Elam on, I think it might be in his Ear for Men YouTube channel, has actually done a video on this in the last couple of days.
Right, but it's just for record, it's Voice for Men, I believe, unless I'm mistaken.
It's one of them. I can't remember what that YouTube channel is actually called.
It's only because we actually have published articles on his site, so I kind of want to make sure it's Voice for Men. I'm pretty sure we've worked with them before, way back.
Yeah, it's the YouTube channel, which I think has a different name. There's an Ear for Men and a Voice for Men, but they're all part of the same thing. He's also got Regarding Men as well.
I apologize. I stand corrected. It is in fact an Ear for Men on YouTube. Anyway, but sorry to interrupt you. So go on.
I was going to say they've done a video. I'll have to find the link for it in a little while when I get off the road. About a woman who committed some kind of extremely violent crime and basically got away with it scot-free.
Did they compare it to how a man would have been treated, or a similar case?
I've only been able to watch a few minutes of the video, so I didn't get that far into it, but I'll try and find the link to it.
I mean, it happens. It happens. So, I mean, it is in the UK now. It is actually law. Let me post the article about how it is actually law now, where women only go to prison for serious crimes, and the way that serious crimes is interpreted seems to be a very, very lenient interpretation of that. But this is a statement from the Justice Secretary. So this is not just like some random right-wing blog. This is someone who is a government official. I just posted it in the Voice discussion channel. If you see it, that's a real article. That's a quote from the Justice Secretary. That is a government official saying that. And we see these stories happening all the time. Let me post that article I was talking about, the woman who stabbed her husband with a screwdriver, and a video and an article that I intend on posting. I was flipping through the Met London sentencing records, and I noticed a man attempted murder against his wife and was given 22 years in prison. This is a woman who stabbed her husband repeatedly with a screwdriver, which is attempted murder, and she spent 27 days in jail and then got a suspended sentence. So in the UK, here's that story right now in Voice discussion. In the UK, when a man attempts murder against a woman, he gets 22 years in jail. When a woman attempts murder against a man, she gets 27 days in jail. That's insane. A homeless man stealing a sandwich from Tesco's will get more prison time than a woman attempting murder. Oh, and Men Are Human. Please talk about this because I just saw this article. They overturned her case, her sentence, so she's going to be doing a maximum of 10 years murder.
Well, I literally was talking about it. He was given life in prison with something like a 14-year sentence, which is already 6 years less than the man who committed murder that you talked about. And now they're trying to drop the sentence even lower, and like they're all going, oh, she was emotionally abused, and maybe he was holding her by the throat and stuff like that. But the thing is, if all that was true, why didn't it come up in the original trial? And if it did come up in the original trial, it's very odd that they convicted her of murder when she was, self-defending herself. But the real thing we need to think about is no man ever gets off on a manslaughter charge when he kills his wife. It never happens. It's just, in order to do that, it would have to be completely accidental. It just wouldn't happen. Because, the man is the responsible party in the eyes of the law. It's like feminism's fighting for sexism. It's fighting for the bits of traditional culture that it wants. And it's bringing us back to those days when men would go to prison for what their wife did. And I'm pretty sure that we don't want to go back there, but I'm pretty sure they do. So it's going to be... Well, anyway...
I've said it many times, Human. Feminists aren't fighting the patriarchy, they're fighting to instill one.
Well, yeah, I mean, they want separate rail carriages and all that sort of stuff, which is stuff that they originally fought against. Like they fought against separation of women from men's spaces and things like that. But now suddenly they want it back, and it's because they have regressed back to that fear of men that caused these things like burqas and things. You see, it's not men who really put women in burqas. It's society. It's women being afraid of men, primarily, because you see these. If you read the news at the moment, there's women lamenting the fact that they're going to be getting rid of face masks soon because they enjoy, having the face mask because they feel like it averts the male gaze, which is exactly what women who wear burqas say that they enjoy about the burqa. It averts the male gaze. It's the same thing, and it's like feminism is really just a toxic, twisted version of traditional values where the family is evil, and that's about the only difference, really. Men are still evil, men are still in charge of everything, but then they also want a lot of power on top of that. But yeah.
Men Are Human, I have a question. Let me ask you.
Yeah.
How much funding do you think it will take to actually bring changes in UK for MRS stuff?
How much money would it take to bring changes? What was the rest of that?
I mean, how much funding do you think it will take to bring change in UK law system, shelter, legislature, just to improve overall men's conditions, just to increase MR activity? How much funding will it really take, according to you, to do substantial work?
I haven't really added that up, but I think it would take an awful lot. I mean, if you think about it, these feminist lobby groups, they're using millions a year to lobby the government to push these things. But at the same time, we can't really go off of their figures because men don't elect as much sympathy as women. Yeah, so we can't really rely on sympathy to, to push for funding to be given to us directly, because they get a lot of government funding directly, and they get funding from women's groups and from women's charities like Refuge and things like that to push these laws. But it's really, really hard because of the.
If I tell you a way, in which we can, at least gather a few million. What do you think?
I don't even think it's about money. I mean, money obviously helps because money can buy you advertising and like billboards and whatnot. But what you need is millions of people being vocal about it. You need a shift in social thinking.
Let me finish. I think we have it all, but it's just not organized. I mean, you can see there are many organizations that actively have lawyers fighting against the laws. Charities actually help and shelter for men, but they really don't have any kind of funding. And whereas you see there are so many voices in men's rights. Just look at any social media platform. You can go to anywhere. I think MRA is becoming more popular with time, and we already have a substantial amount of voices I mean, literally, our subreddit is bigger than all the feminists combined. We have voices, but it's not organized. I mean, somewhere we are lacking funds. Somewhere we are lacking support. But we all have that, but it's just all organized. And the biggest complaint, and the feminists used to taunt MRAs are that we actually aren't able to achieve much, which is unfortunately really true. I think I have a plan. If it works, we can actually achieve a lot. We can actually organize with it. Like I said, I message two of you in activist group about my plan. So I was first saying the poster, the flyer part is just a part of it. If we can just first organize all these people or these supporters in one place, we can just give them access to things they don't have, like giving them access to the files, flyers, stickers, so that they can spread it, use it, do whatever they want with it. On the other hand, give them access to the fund to charities where they can actually support MI movement. Like if we if on the men's day, imagine if on the men's day the people this time the men's day all over the world people are protesting protesting for men's rights everywhere. Everyone MI is getting support, and at the same time we actually ask charity from different kind of billionaires, millionaires, actors, influential people. On that day when hype is up, I am pretty sure if we at least ask a few billionaires, a few celebrity, we could actually gain a few $1 million. It's if even if not a few $1 million, at least if we ask lots of people, lots of rich people for donation when the hype is high, we can at least achieve a substantial amount of charities for the organization that really needs it.
That's a really hard thing to ask, though, because rich people are going to be actors or CEOs or big investors, big celebrities. those kinds of people tend to be very careful about the things that they say. And you have seen celebrities take controversial political stances, such as James Wood, such as William Shatner seems to be an MRA. And a few years ago, he made some pro-MRA tweets, and he got totally slammed for it. So I get what you're saying. You know, having an MRA celebrity would be great. I mean, having a real bona fide, true celebrity, not like a famous MRA, but like a famous actor or singer, come out and talk about men's rights would be so great. You know, actually getting that to happen.
I mean, it's not just it doesn't have to be a celebrity, and he doesn't have to be a very vocal about it. If the hype is high all over the world, we are able to gain enough support that people have access to flyers, all the files, all the MRA citations, MRA articles, MRA material, and if we give them an order, this is the day where we are gonna do it. This is the day where we are gonna do it. People are actually waiting to actually do some real MRA activism work. If on Men's Day, if you get enough support and say this is the day where we are all gonna go and spread these flyers, if this is the day where we are gonna protest, if we can gain support worldwide, if there is enough hype for it, and if we are able to send documents, files related to MRA to world leaders and politicians on this on the day where on the day Men's Rights Day, Men's Day, and ask for charities at the same time, I think we might actually able to achieve many of our goals.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I think there have to be rich people who understand this, especially like wealthy men who get divorced, like Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates. I'm sure there have been wealthy men who have realized just how unfair the court system is. So it's not an impossible idea. I bet you there are some Indian celebrities or businessmen or wealthy people who have been affected by some of the laws you were talking about, the divorce laws and the dowry laws and whatnot. I have to agree with you that there are people out there, there are wealthy people in the world who would be interested in doing this.
Contacting them is the
I
problem.
would try to, show you the side of the wealthy people. First of all, most of them don't give a damn. The reason being, they don't really have to, see this side of the women. Because the fact that they are wealthy is not just because of luck, they have a mindset, the ability to forego and look over a lot of things. That is how they became rich and wealthy. So they never had to see, most of them never had to see that kind of emotional trauma. Because to them, majority of the women are, sexual objects. They don't have to see any of those things.
I mean, we can try. I mean, this billionaires, this celebrity loves to be a philanthropist quite often. If I think they wouldn't refuse if we were asking a charity for organization that helps suicide victims, especially men's shelter. I doubt they will refuse doing charity for them.
If we're looking for that kind of charity, I think because they're already giving it to the women's shelter and whatnot, the proper method would be inclusion. Remove the women from women suicide helpline.
Sorry, you're breaking up there, Sid. What do you mean remove the women?
Batman Network does that sometimes. Yeah, I was saying we have if we're looking for that kind of charity work and helping out, we need to remove women from the charities. And by saying that, what I mean is make it general for men and women. Do not try to protest that. Why is there a women's suicide helping charity? Why is it not suicide helping charity? Why is it exclusive for women? If we change it like that, that will be much more effective and will actually have results from an economical point of view, because the people who give out charity, these kind of things, they keep on giving charity. They will not stop. It's their second need. They have a lot of incentives in that in various ways, which is a completely different topic. So the best way would be to make those already existing charities, those already existing organizations, and force.
I'm really not sure how we could do that.
Okay, so yeah, I just had to mute Sid for a second there because I just have to clarify something. When he says to remove women from charities, you're not saying, Sid, you're not saying to not have women in charities. What you're saying is to make it gender neutral.
Yes, that is exactly what I mean. Remove women from the name of that charity. It's not a women helping center, it's a helping center. I mean, that's a semantic way of saying that.
Yeah, but you're not going to get many people on your side saying remove women from the charity. Blue
I was not making it very. I was not making it
like
very.
You were, and that's the problem.
Yeah, I was not sounding very marketable. I was not sounding very marketable. We can work on the marketability of all of that, but that's the idea behind it.
Sid, would you agree that it makes sense, like, let's say something like homeless shelters or domestic violence shelters? I actually agree that there should be separate homeless shelters for men and women, for example, or at least separate sleeping areas.
I also agree with that.
Yes, but the thing is, the same organizations should do those things. If we make the difference between this is a women's homeless shelter organization and this is a man's homeless shelter organization, the problem is going to persist. The solution is to take the pre-existing organizations and then somehow manage to make them do work inclusively. I myself agree that homeless shelters for men and women should be separate, but only on the managerial level. I would rather have the same building with different apartments, the same building with different partitions, as least the difference as can be, because it will actually actually resolve a lot of other social issues that are between men and women. The proximity when under security is actually good for men and women, but only under only under security. Yeah, you were saying?
It's a good goal, but I'm not sure how we do it. There was recently a thing in the news about Brighton Council was ejecting a couple of charities because they only dealt with women, and I think that's a major victory if they actually stand by that. The female only charities were up in arms about it, and those charities often get their way by whining. So it remains to be seen if that sticks. But
we can actually take feminists on our side with this one, because majority of the feminists, they work on marketability. They asked for equal, and we can force them according to their own agenda to be equal. That is something that we can, put them on the pedestal for. Feminists make an organization. Why is it not 50-50? Why do you not have the equal representation of men? Because they want 50-50 in the parliaments. We want 50-50 in the shelters.
Said, you might not know it, but feminists are shameless. They would come up with theories on the spot, controversial theories, anything on the spot to excuse their behavior. They are really shameless. Few days
we can
ago,
be
I
shameless
made
as
a
well.
post.
We can be shameless as well. We can have some part of the in the future, if we do make an organization, we can have a few people who are shameless, and we can have some people who are rather calm and content. Because you know what? We can't win in the games of women, because women are always going to be better at that. We have to deal with it in the men's way, the ways that we know. When
I really don't agree with you there, because because in those parts, I think I can defeat what you're saying is for woman nature.
That's actually a major problem. The shelters themselves, they say that the boy has to stay at home with the abusive dad, or they have to go somewhere else, and they don't really care where, so the boy could end up on the street or something like that. If we leverage that and talk about it in terms of PR and say, why do shelters want little abused boys to be out on the street, then we can push back against them using their own PR.
Yeah, it's a good way. It's a good way. I would suggest going even further, but we need a start. This is a good start. Slowly but surely we can take over. Because I don't think that we will have anything substantial until we completely remove the title of women from these charities and make it let's just say give it a bad image. If any organization says that we are doing help solely for women, this will actually hurt their agenda on a much more deeper level.
Yeah, I thought about this. Saying remove women because it may hurt our agenda.
I thought about something Sid was talking about, a hypothetical. Imagine two hypothetical charities, right? One is a charity to cure blindness in children. And the other one is cure blindness in boys, like curing children that have cataracts or eye problems and are legally blind, to give them like laser eye surgery or treatment to restore their eyesight. If you had a charity called Treating Blind Girls, society would accept it. If you had a charity called Treating Blind Boys, society would call it sexist.
And that is what we need to fight and be vocal about. Do it discreetly. Be vocal. Whenever anybody says something about women's rights, you start saying it's human rights, not women's rights. You're a bigot. You beat them at their own game.
The narrative that feminists have invented is then, oh, what you're doing is you're just doing a what about the men's?
No, we're doing it. Actually, you know what? You take that and say, yes, we are doing a what about the men? Because of you, because of we actually start to blame the feminists on that, because we're going to say, because of you, men have lost their identity. Now we need the same treatment as you because you have left us with that. So now we need that.
Actually.
Just like you.
Now,
just like you need it, we need it now.
You're making sense now. Yeah. No, that makes sense. Now I see what you're saying. I agree. Actually, I agree.
Because if they wanted inclusion, we say, okay, we want inclusion as well now. Not just in the heart, we want inclusion in everything now. You wanted in good things in the good stuff? Well, we want good things in the bad stuff.
Yeah, Zeta, be careful with your mic.
Can I say
It's on all the
something?
time.
Can I say something?
Yeah,
Go
yeah.
on.
A few days ago, I made a post on Reddit, Ask Feminism, because I just had a random thought in my mind. Why all boys band are famous, are more popular than all girls band? I mean,
Why,
you
what?
could,
Sorry?
if you just go, I made a post on Ask Feminism about why all boy band like BTS are famous, are more popular than their female counterpart, all girl band or pop groups. If you go there and just look at their answer, you would be baffled how they
Link.
come up with such a elaborate theories on the spot. They
Links,
would
please.
on
Yeah, just link to it if you could, please. Your mic is very, very bad, I'm afraid. It sounds like you're shouting at it from the end of a tunnel. It's very hard to understand you.
okay, I will try to change my mark next time. Okay. So
Thank you.
I will
We
just
still need the link.
I will
We
just
still need
send
the
link
link.
of that post. But the part is they come up with such elaborate theories, such a controversial theories on the spot. And you know the common part of all their theories is they will always blame it on toxic masculinity, patriarchy. The toxic masculinity and patriarchy uh, always every theory, every argument ends with blaming toxic masculinity, internalized misogyny, or patriarchy. Literally every single one. Their theories are such an elaborate plot. If you didn't know any better, most of them doesn't make any sense. But if you are not knowledgeable about the subject, you would believe them because they make such a elaborate lie, such a convincing lie.
Oh, we can do that as well. Do you
You
know
know,
how easy it is to bullshit? It's very easy.
well, I've always thought that our main strength was that we are, factual and we have all these stats and statistics and we try to be correct at all times. But I
They
suppose
don't work
if
on women.
they don't, if
Actually,
in the
what
face
I
of
have.
them doing that, hang on. In the face of them doing that, we could we could make our own theories in response and use them simply as weapons against them doing it.
Actually, you know what? It will never work with women, generally speaking. Very few women, pay heed to all of that. You try to argue with them, hey, you need to adjust the, outgoings and the economy of the household, and they'll be like, no, I need this. Well, in reality, is that they want it, not need it. But anyways, what I have observed in women is the counter of that is not logic but fear, and I'm afraid that's the truth.
Fear?
Fear.
Mm.
Fear of something.
I've been thinking that maybe if we could get people to do protests on the street, we wouldn't need that many people to go to refuges headquarters and stand outside it with bins, asking them if they've got any abused boys they want to put in the bins, and saying that if they've got any abused boys on them, they have to put them in the bins before they go in the shelter. Actually, this would work better
Boys
if we
don't
stood
even
outside
know
the
that they are
shelter.
abused. Boys most of the time do not even.
Yeah,
I
but this
found out
is a
a few
public
months
shelter.
ago. I found out a few months ago that I was raped as a child.
Right.
A few months ago. I'm a 27-year-old guy who's a successful businessman. It's not like I don't remember those things. I do, but it never fucking came across me that, oh fuck, well, I was raped as a little boy. Never occurred to me. Boys
Oh,
don't know that they are raped. We take aggression and think it's a part of life because, well, aggressive things are mostly part of our lives. We like them.
Well, if you'd like to talk about that, we can do. But I was talking about a protest outside, say, shelter, where we confront people with the fact that they won't allow abused boys in their shelters. But if you want
Yeah,
to talk
that
about,
we can do.
yeah, I mean
That
that would
we
be
can
a
do.
really good thing to do if we could find out where their headquarters is and see if anyone local is willing to do this. Yeah, you just
It would
need
be
some
very hard to
leaflets or
find
flyers
local
and-
men to do this. You know what? It would be easier to find women who will be willing to do that than men.
That's
We all
an
have
interesting idea.
we all have things to do. We all have
They could
things
even
to do.
pretend to be feminists.
Yeah,
would
but
be
at
interesting,
the end of the
wouldn't
day, no, the thing is, at the end of the day, it's hard to find men who will be willing to do all of those things because, well,
Hmm.
frankly speaking, we have things to do.
I'd
we
do
do.
it if I could work out where they are. Although I'd wait until the COVID was over before I did it.
We are the kind of men who have put our life on, all of this. There are few of us, very few of us. Even the people who will agree to us will be sympathizing towards us or agree to whatever we say.
Are you going robot mode again?
Yeah, like I said, unlike women, we got stuff to do. We don't have the,
Free time.
luxury of not doing work.
Hmm.
Women do.
Yeah, there is a lot of that, it seems. I mean,
So
women
it would be
working
actually
most
easier.
part-time jobs, but
It would actually be easier to get women to do that protesting. Actually, you know what? It would be much more easier. You get a bunch of women, make them agree to do it. That would be much more easier.
You're off again, robot boy.
Yeah, it would be better. It would be easier than to have a bunch of men do the protest.
It'd be cool if we could get the honey badgers to do it, but my attempts to contact them have always failed. So I'm not sure what we could really do, but
The method would be actually discreet if you're actually thinking about doing it. You see, it would be much more easier to not do it ourselves to begin with. You talk to the feminists who you think are, let's just say, not so fast on their idiocy. Then you may give them that argument and make them be like, blame them that, hey, you guys are not doing that, and then push it on to them. Hey, we'll listen to you guys once you do this. Why don't you do this? Why don't you do this? Or push it on to them. Let them do work for us. That would be much more easier and actually much more manageable. Because even if they fuck up, who's to blame?
Yeah,
Man,
it's interesting.
I should be a politician. I should be a freaking politician, to be honest. Where the fuck did I get into business?
Do it. You're a businessman. Politicians are often businessmen.
Yeah, but
go for it, buddy.
I need a few years. I'm in Pakistan. If I want to be a businessman politician, I have to have fuck you kind of money. Now I have sufficient amount of money, sufficient being I don't have to worry whether or not I'm gonna put food on the table or what to wear. I can choose. I don't look at the price tags when I'm out in the market. I have that kind of money, but I don't have fuck you kind of money. Maybe one day. Coming.
So you basically have "I don't like you" kind of money.
I basically have I don't like you kind of money. If I don't like you, I don't have to work with you. I can just call somebody else.
Yeah. Well, okay. So we've gone through a lot of different things. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to talk about? Any way we could possibly raise people to like perhaps take part in one of these things?
We could do targeting,
Targeting.
and by targeting I mean we can take one feminist at a time who has some kind of following, have a bunch of people, 2 or 3 guys, convince that feminist, have talks with her on regular basis, somehow penetrate through the inner circle that woman has, pretend, lie, beg, borrow, and steal, whatever. Take one at a time.
That's an interesting idea, although I'm not sure how that would work. But we'd need to target
The
at
first
least
step would
fairly
be the first.
popular feminists.
No, not fairly popular, because the guys in the VC right now, we actually can't target the very popular ones. We will have to go for the second best. But if we go one at a time, we'll do something. So the first step would be actually to target. I don't know who to target or what to target. I just know how to convince people. I don't know who to target. So if you guys find me a target, I can somehow, squeeze a few R's in, have a talk with them, challenge them on stuff, bring them to my home server, have discussions. I have a server, the Slaughterhouse, where we talk shit about stuff, and it's a very, very, let's just say, non-PC anything goes kind of server until you are logically consistent. So, or I could bring them here. We could discuss stuff with them, but I would actually not suggest that, because then we will be putting up bullseye on our own back. So, yeah.
I do suggest that you take them to a neutral place, because it sounds an awful lot like they would instantly leave that server that you were talking about. I would go for somewhere where they would feel comfortable, if not in control.
Yeah. So what I would need for now, if to even start any of this, would be a target, which I have no freaking clue who is better to do, who to target. I just know we go for the B grades.
Yeah.
Not the most popular ones, but the ones after that.
Yeah. It's hard to know who to go for, because you'd need one who wasn't insane for a start. You need somebody who's they can be talked around, but it's annoying, because the higher you go up the ranks, the more insane they get. The reasonable ones are all the ones on the bottom, where they can't really do anything. And
don't underestimate the power of a troll. We are the millennials. We invented the shit.
Yeah.
Don't underestimate the power of the trolls. You see, as much as they will be crazy and whatnot, there are a few of us who are very good at manipulation.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I can really get on board with trolling, especially not as the owner of a server, because the problem here is that if I
you don't have to introduce yourself like that. You don't have to introduce yourself like that.
No, it's not that. It's that if I advocate for trolling or using this server as an attack server, then it can get taken off of Discord.
Don't do that. Like I said, do that. Find the target. You know what? I'll help you in this. You find the target. I'll do the rest of the work.
Well, we'll see. If you talk to me privately, then that's
Oh, yeah,
probably
sure. Of
fine.
course, I have no issue with that. I'll even invite you to my server. It's not exactly for men's rights, but I am. Let's just say that they all know me as the server's misogynist, and they love me there. And I sent you the link. It's the
All right,
slaughterhouse.
thank you. Hi,
I think
hi, Goku. So we're talking about men's spaces being disrupted. We're talking about like all that sort of stuff. Do you have any experiences with like people invading men's spaces, Goku?
Not in Pakistan, because women will not exactly want to invade a man's space. Mostly because even if they do, we have the ability to just take our stuff and go somewhere else.
yeah, that's true.
Well,
If somebody just
hmm.
is very persistent that, hey, we want this place, we
Oh, there you go again. Sid, you're breaking up. Sorry, what were you saying?
Like I was saying, men usually have the attitude that if somebody wants a particular space, we are mostly just like, okay, we'll just go a little bit to the left. Fuck.
Hmm.
Who the fuck cares?
Yeah, the issue
I mean,
with that is you can't always do that in an official capacity. So if you've got an
I mean,
organization,
What do
you
you
really
mean?
can't do that.
What do you mean?
Well,
I mean, culturally, here in India, if you go to some kind of rural place, men actually have some kind of place where they sit, talk, have their own chat, meetings, and all. At my grandfather's place, there's the building, a room kind of a building among five other households where old man in particular, or a youngster, or any kind of man in particular goes there, talks with other men. Now, even if the woman tries saying that we want that place, we can just move to some other place. It's not like it's gonna stop them from talking, stop them from having patriarchal meetings. It's funny because uh, they are doing the exact same thing as women do. Women of different households talk. Men of different households talk, but men talking to each other seems kind of patriarchal to them.
that's all right when you're like an independent group, but well, I don't
Anyways,
know how
I
it is
have
in
to go
India,
to the
but if
table.
you,
The dinner's ready. I'll talk to you guys later.
all right, see you, Sid, enjoy. Well, I mean, what I'm saying is that if you've got like a university group or a college campus group, you can't really do very much in the way of getting away from women if they are forced to, like if they're forcing their way into your group. Because if you just move groups, then they can complain about it and get your group cancelled and things like that. But
That happens a lot, especially in Indian universities. But the thing is, the students mostly organize private groups to tackle that problem, because censorship is a big problem in India. So the private groups are more common than the one supported by the authorities.
I mean, you could just literally make your group unofficial and keep doing it. I mean, that's certainly a thing. But getting a space to do that would be a bit of an issue if you needed it. Though, I mean, if the weather's nice, then you can just do it outside, I guess. Like find some nice shady trees, sit under and do it there. They can't really stop you.
I think
Uh,
I think underground groups are the way. I mean, in-house meetings. I am thinking of organizing a a group, a club. I will just name it a Council of Patriarchy just to annoy the feminists. In that place, I mean, if in real life I am in activism work, I could just invite people I want to have conversation with or discuss any kind of things. It doesn't have to be official because if it's official, there will be restrictions on it. People could complain about it, but it's like a place invites a few people in a private space, be like a gentleman's club or a MRA club, which people outside the circle will know about.
Yeah, it's a good idea. You could go ahead and start that club if you can. I'm just thinking at the moment about how we can get this like a global thing going because you wanted to do an International Men's Day thing. I
Yeah,
haven't
yeah.
forgotten about that, but I've just been wondering about how to really do it because we need to gain a massive amount of support on the sub to do it. But at the moment, the mods seem pretty lukewarm about it.
I mean, whenever you make that post, remember to put in on Discord, on Twitter,
Zeta, I can't understand
so
you.
that we can go there and um, avoid. What I'm saying is, whenever you make that post, remember to put it on the Discord, so that the people of the Discord and me, including, could go to that post and give its awards, so that it will be on top of the algorithm.
I certainly will do. I mean, I think we do need some sort of men's group established in the UK. It's I mean, I would start it, but I'm not really sure I'm the person to do it because I've already got a lot of stuff that I'm doing already, and I'm at the point where everything that I'm doing is distracting me from everything else that I'm doing. So it's a bit of an issue in that regard. I can do a few things more maybe, but like the more I do, the less quality everything is going to be.
So what my plan was, let's just say we organize it as we tell the people it's an event. First, we have to see how many people are gonna participate in it and list the things that we are gonna do. Let's say we are gonna provide flyers, stickers, citations, uh, documents, MR list of problems that we are gonna focus on. And the second step would be to contact the other MRA organization because contact any men's right organizations and ask as their help to organize or support the event which we are planning on, and I can contact a few in India. They will be more than happy to cooperate with us, I think. So, and if you put them forward in a positive direction, that this is the way we are gonna do it, uh, this is the way we are gonna move forward. And the third step would be to organize charities that on Men's Day people can and celebrities or the people or the rich we are gonna target can give to. I think on in terms of charities, let's be shameless. Uh, Publicly ask charities from UN, publicly ask charity from Elon Musk, everyone. I think say ask charity from every single rich guy you can find, and women too. It would be quite funny if you could ask charity for Jeff Bezos' wife to support a men's right organization that supports. If we target every rich guy, every one that could afford to give those charity, we can, I think, believe we can gain substantial amount of funds. And the fourth step would be to to finally raise awareness for the men's right, to let more people know that men's right exists, why we exist, why are we opposing to feminists, the things they don't know. This is my plan. What do you?
Hmm. It was very, very hard to hear a lot of that, I'm afraid. If you could write it out for me, it would be very helpful because I often wonder if I'm understanding what you're saying, just because the mic is missing out like random bits of what you say, and the quality is very low. I'm afraid it's not your fault, but it does. I mean, I'm wondering if like distance is part of the problem as well. But
I think it could be. I will just go tomorrow. I will just keep it in mind and format all the plan in a written form to you tomorrow. Okay?
okay, thank you. I am thinking that maybe we could make you some sort of organizer because you do seem to be like very, very proactive, and that's really good. And it would help for us to have more people on board who can just sort of help us do things because at the moment it usually boils down to one or two of us doing everything, and it's emotionally exhausting. Uh, it's also very, very difficult to keep up with everything because we're constantly like jumping from one thing to another. So the more people we can have, maybe you could form like an activism team on the server. If you'd like to start recruiting people for that, then I'm very happy to support you in doing that.
I think I can actually contact a few organizations, a few other servers related to men's right, and gain a few amount of supports, I guess.
That would be really good if you could. We really need to network and we really need to become more focused because we're getting to a size now where we can actually take action, and it's frustrating that we're still acting like a small movement when we have a lot more oomph than some of the feminist servers now. Even though the main feminist servers are still much bigger than us, we are actually bigger than our feminism. So we should be pushing a lot harder. But anyway, I think
And
this is. Sorry, go on.
what I'm saying is actually I know quite a few things about how to organize an event like this. So I think I could be a help.
That would be really good. Do you want to talk to me about it in DMs and we can lay out some strategy here? I think it would help a lot for me to have it in text as well. So I've got something that I can, like a plan that we can like pin in the text and definitely remember. Because there is a point where like there's so many things going on that it's hard to remember either one on its own.
I think I will get to you tomorrow because it's, I think, probably getting late at night here. So I will
Okay.
just make a list about. I will just make a list of the steps we should take with few suggestions and get back to you tomorrow. Okay? How does it sound?
Okay. That sounds good. What time is it where you are?
11.
Oh boy. Yeah, get in bed, mate. Yeah, it's yeah, that's pretty late. Thank you for showing up at such a late time for us. I have been thinking about making the chat earlier on in the day because the Americans seem to find it hard to get in here as well. So I mean, it would actually be in the morning for them. But yeah. Well, I'm sorry for been keeping you up so late, but I hope we don't stop you sleeping.
No, no problem.
All right then. Well, good night, and let's call that it then. I think since everyone has gone off for their dinner. All right.
Bye.
All right. Bye. And bye, Silent Storm as well. You live up to your name very much. You can talk in here if you would like.
Oh, yeah, sure. Why not? I don't mind.
All right. Sorry, that was a bit of a bad joke, but please do take part next time if you want to. You know, it's an open chat; everyone's allowed.
Yeah, I'll keep that in mind.
All right then. Good night or good morning or whatever it is for you. And I'll end the thing now.